Hi, this is Tony Laureti. I'm here with Robert Patterson of RJ Patterson Investment Group.
Capital Investment Group.
Okay, and I've known Robert for how long now?
5 years.
5 years.
Yep.
Wow. And we're here to talk a little bit about what he does. I mean, I practice law, but Robert's been here on the 25th floor downtown San Diego for a while, and we get to talk. And I'm very interested in what's going on, especially in today's volatile market.
For sure.
And I dabble a little bit in it, and Robert has given me some good pointers, but I'm a little concerned. I'm a little conservative when it comes to my money and investing and so forth.
And you should be.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I'm a little concerned about what's going on, especially with China and the U.S. with these tariffs. And I just noted today on the news that China is now imposing some tariffs on some of our products, I guess pork and aluminum and things like that. Can you talk to us a little bit, Robert, about how that affects what you do? And maybe you can start out by telling us what you do.
Well, at RJ Patterson Capital Investment Group, I'm the founder and CEO. And what we do is we're an investment consulting business. So we help people from soup to nuts, help them plan their investments, look at their cash flow, deploy that money. It could be in real estate, it could be in the stock market, whatever helps them kind of get to that point where they would like to be.
Great. And so I would imagine you probably have other people like me that you represent a little bit nervous about what's going on. I've noticed, these different markets are affected by this. What's your take on all this? Should we be concerned?
We should always be concerned. I mean, it's investing. It has levels of risk in it, and everyone should know what that level of risk that they're taking and have an expectation of what the market could do on the upside and on the downside. We've had a period of many years where there's been no volatility. We've kind of just gone up completely, and we're coming to a point where there's some geopolitical issues going on, and the market is responding. I mean, it represents the kind of the concern that we all share. And when human beings get scared, the market trades sideways and has some down days as well. So it's really important to know that everyone's portfolio that has that risk in the marketplace, I mean, it can drop, and you want to make sure that that money's, you're not going to sell at the bottom. You can make it through any such downturn that would occur. So what does that mean? Go to cash flow. So our philosophy is always about cash flow. My clients will always have enough cash to support their life and what they want to do for 2-3 years, and then at any downturn, it starts turning back up. So you've made it through the worst of times. Right.
I remember back in 2008, 2009, and what happened and so forth. This is a little different, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, the circumstances aren't the same. I mean, you were talking about a real estate market that had run up. You were talking about lending regulations that had been removed, and people really were allowed to borrow as much as they want. In fact, most of the recessions or depressions are predicated on debt. People take on too much debt. You can't service that debt. It goes back to cash flow as well.
Gotcha. But you're not too concerned about what's going on?
With my clients, no. I mean, so what they have in risk, I understand or explain and communicate that, if we do have risk, that we're going to utilize a down market as our opportunity and be prepared to take advantage of some downturns.
Right. So when you say take advantage of some downturns, you mean there's some opportunity there maybe
Absolutely.
To purchase? Yeah.
So if somebody who wants to buy Apple at 120 and it's at 160, well, 120 could be an opportunity that they could add to that portfolio.
So Robert, all great stuff about the market. I really appreciate that. It explains a lot of stuff for me. But from a legal standpoint, I have a question for you, and maybe you could answer some of these questions. I get calls on occasion from people who have hired someone like yourself, put a lot of money and faith into that person, and things go bad. And maybe you could, with lawyers, it's very important to really take time to select the right lawyer. But how would someone select a good financial planner? What's your advice?
I mean, that is a really great question, and most people do not do their due diligence. And there are plenty of things that you can do. First and foremost, the Securities Exchange Commission, or FINRA, has a site where you do a broker check, and you put the individual's name in, and it's basically their rap sheet. It shows everything that they've done since they've been in business, Many times they've lost their license and their clients don't even know that. So I mean, it is something that I explain to all my clients is make sure you do the due diligence that's necessary.
Yeah, and I think it'd be important also to make sure that whoever you hire, they're insured, have them give you proof of insurance.
Absolutely.
Just like a contractor that comes to your house, or anyone that could possibly cause you some financial harm. Yep. And I would assume that you have some insurance.
Oh, absolutely.
Yourself.
Errors and admissions. It's your voice, what you do, same thing. It's bonded, and there's insurance behind that protects against miscommunications or the mistakes that happens. Errors and admission insurance. So every advisor that a consultant should have some sort of insurance in addition to the business insurance as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's great to ask those things. I mean, my company, we serve as fiduciaries, and what that means is, there are brokers and salespeople, and they're called registered representatives. They work for companies, and they're selling. At RJ Patterson Capital Investment Group, we consult. All of our fees are completely transparent. They're available to see. You talk about the insurance, our advice. We back that up. We communicate with our clients. We really make sure that they understand what they're getting into. If someone wants to take more risk, what does that mean? They need to take less risk, what does that mean? If they're looking at a financial plan to reach a particular goal, what are those specific steps that we're going to do to get there?
Robert, as you're aware, over the years, I've had the opportunity to represent some professional athletes and so forth. They come in to a lot of money at times. They sign new contracts.
That's right.
And a lot of them are just young kids coming out of college, right?
Yes.
And do you represent any athletes, or do you work in that arena?
I've been involved with the NFLPA, the NFL Players Association, and they have, aside for advisors, they actually go through a process, background checks, and they check your records every year, make sure that you're representing those athletes in the best manner possible. It's really difficult. You talk about these athletes getting money, large sums of money, and a lot of the athletes don't have a background or a group of people that they can really trust and help them make better decisions.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough getting that amount of money at any age and then knowing what to do and knowing who to trust. I've been involved and really passionate about bringing together professionals from all walks of life, particularly legal. And I know that you've helped a lot of professional athletes in real estate deals and kind of just making those better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. You think about some of the athletes that have signed these big contracts, and then 10 years later, they're out of money. They're filing bankrupt.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing happening is, as soon as they get this money, a lot of them never, they don't have any. So, then you got all the relatives coming out of the woodwork and people that need some help. And, it's good to help, your family and so forth. But I think it's probably important for these athletes to have some constraints.
Yeah.
And what would you, if you had to advise, a young athlete that just signed a $10 million contract that really didn't have anything, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, it's interesting to say that the strategy, if you think about a young athlete that gets that $10 million, potentially that could be their whole entire career worth of money. So it automatically becomes very conservative, because if they have the ability to earn $10 or $20 million in their whole lifetime, but they live to be 60, 70 years old, how can you make that money last? And it's really important to step back and take that very conservative view. It takes a lot of education. And I think that you and I were talking about the board of directors for the athletes and putting it together and bringing some retired athletes onto that board and forming a huddle. We talked about the huddle and creating this environment of trusted advisors where the athlete can come to a safe area, ask questions. We can even set up ways for them to protect themselves from other people, and again, providing that environment to make really great decisions so that they can keep all that wealth that they've earned.
Right, right. And a lot of times people hire agents, but agents just represent them in their contracts. Some agencies will provide some other services, but I think you mentioned this huddle. I don't think they provide this huddle situation.
No, I mean, the agents have a completely separate job, very important. I mean, they're on the front lines speaking to the sports teams and different ways to just promote this athlete, which is completely separate. They're kind of the engine of earning the money, and you and I are more on the back end, making sure that they don't lose it, spend it, get taken advantage of. And again, it's a lot of education, mentorship. I think that's why it's fantastic to have the retired athlete on there. So a young guy has maybe a pro football player that he looked up to when he was growing up, and all of a sudden he's saying, hey, this is the way you should really do it. These guys, these group of people are people you can trust. Yeah,
J.R. Tolver, you know J.R.
I know J.R., yeah.
Yeah, he's a local San Diego State guy. We're gonna, he's actually very interested, not interested, but he's a proponent of this huddle, so to speak. Actually, I think he's the one that used that phrase.
He did, yeah.
And we'll talk to him, but as an athlete, and he sincerely cares about these kids, a lot of them, especially out of San Diego State, which produces a lot of professional, high-paying, good-paying jobs.
Go Aztecs, right?
Yeah, go Aztecs. Yeah. But we'll talk to JR. He'll give his spin on it. But Robert, once again, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, have a good rest of the day.
Take care.